necessary documents, but we're happy the documents are now here. We'll try to improve in the future. We want to welcome members of the press to this 42nd Cabinet meeting, this matrix that was done on the 26th, today, 26th November 2019. Without further ado, I want to defer to the Chief Secretary, to the President, the Office of the President.
Of ministers, and she's going to be introducing a team and starting over to you.
Thank you, Chief Secretary, and indeed I am here with a high-powered delegation of my colleagues, ministers. I'll start from my left. That's Morgira, our Minister of Higher Education, and I have Minister July Moyo, our Minister of Local Challenges affecting Harare and its satellite towns. It got a report which was presented on Morton Jeffrey Water Treatment Plant. This report was presented by Minister July Moyo. In light of the water supply challenges affecting Harare and its satellite towns, it would be recalled that His Excellency, the President Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, had visited Morton Jeffrey Water Treatment to assess the situation obtaining their aid. The Minister of Local Government and Public Works had reported that water supply capacity at Morton Jeffrey is limited due to the poor quality of the raw water in Lake Chiwero. An assessment of Manyame and Warren control pump stations revealed that pollution of water at Lake Chiwero is worse compared to Manyame. As such, Lake Manyame raw water is better than that of Lake Chiwero. Cabinet concurs that pumping water from Lake Manyame reduces the usage of aluminium sulfate by 26.8%. This will consequently reduce the cost of treating water, as aluminium sulfate is the main chemical. In light of this, Cabinet resolved as follows. 1. That Harare City Council uses water from Lake Manyame. 2. That government avails US $9.3 million for aid and works at Manyame and Warren control pump stations, which are to be completed in 2 months. Also, appropriate water meters will be installed concurrently with the cited works. 3. That Complex be allocated enough foreign currency to import water treatment chemicals. 4. That government provide loan guarantees for the various water and sanitation projects to be undertaken by local authorities using the various project procurement methods that suit their situation. 5. That hefty fines be imposed on polluters of water sources. And 6. Finally, that local authorities be allowed to sign the various agreements that would ensure supply of adequate and affordable potable water to the public and recovery of funds advanced to local authorities by government. The Cabinet also received and appreciated progress in the implementation of the following 4th 100-day cycle priority projects, which were presented by the following ministers. Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Morgira, talked on the projects on the 400-day cycle priority projects. First one being the geospatial aeronautical and space science capability for Zimbabwe. And then the other one is the establishment of the Zimbabwe National Geospatial and Space Agency offices. And the third one being the development of maps an interactive digital application for the agro-ecological zones of Zimbabwe. Fifth project being the release of funds to procure wildlife satellite collars by the Research Council of Zimbabwe. And finally, the digitalization of both the first and second round subdivision maps is complete. Cabinet notes that implementation of the following projects is underway, as I have already said. Establishment of innovation hubs. On equipping innovation hubs at the University of Zimbabwe, the Midland State University, the National University of Science and Technology, NUST, and the Chinhoyi University of Technology, CAT, Cabinet notes that the process of procuring equipment at all the innovation hubs had been initiated, bringing overall progress of the project to 80%. Furthermore, architectural designs for the industrial park at the UZ farm in Harare, that has been completed, and procurement of materials has commenced. Construction works for the agro-industrial park in the University of Technology farm, also that has commenced. Regarding application of the new cattle reproductive technologies, Cabinet noted that the establishment of artificial insemination centers in provinces is ongoing, while the production of semen straw labeling and filler machines for local use and for export is commenced at Chinhoyi University Technology. Cabinet further noted that construction of the Humanities and Social Science Faculty building at Lupane State University, which is in Matabeleland North, that also has commenced. Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services also gave a report on the 400-day project regarding installation of FM radio transmission gap fillers in Matabeleland South and Masvingo. Cabinet noted that fabricated containers have been procured and equipment has been delivered to Magambuzi, which is in Plumtree in Matabeleland South Province, and also in Tubi Mukosi in Masvingo Province. Pertaining to the construction of high-definition studio for independent producers, old analog equipment has been removed, while high-definition equipment has been procured. On the launch of the 24-hour channel on DSTV, Cabinet was informed that assessment of the TV channel by multi-choice DSTV has been completed. Concerning the mobile cinema project, the procurement of equipment has commenced. Regarding the installation of hardware components for the outdoor viewing screen at Nika Growth Point in Ward 11 of Bikita District, Cabinet noted that the sound system has been procured. Then the Ministry of Health and Child Care report on the fourth 100-day projects was given by the Minister Obadiah Moyo, as follows. United Bulawayo Hospitals, UBH, partnered with the Zimbabwe Orthopedic Trust to construct an orthopedic private hospital to be named the Bulawayo Orthopedic Hospital through a build, operate and transfer model. Then there's a construction and refurbishment works of the BOH, which is the Bulawayo Orthopedic Hospital, were completed on 30 September 2019. And Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Honorable Kazembe Kazembe, also gave his report on the fourth 100-day project. As the process of monitoring the implementation of projects and programs that are intended to bring about a positive impact on the citizenry continues, the Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage informed Cabinet that the Tomlinson Depot, Block C, there are Block C flats which are being built there in Harare, that has now reached 50% completion. Cabinet directed that outstanding works be expedited in order to alleviate the institutional accommodation challenges for the Zimbabwe Republic Police. The Minister further reported that the Wedza district registration in Mashonaland East Province is at 72% completion as government seeks to bring national documentation services closer to the people, decentralization. Then the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, the Minister Matema also gave his report As the e-education model gathers pace, the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education informed Cabinet that government has distributed iPads, laptops, and projector screens to a total of 60 primary schools. The remaining 2,000 gadgets are being programmed and loaded with software, following which issuance to beneficiary schools will commence. Under the Quality Control Program, the Minister informed Cabinet that a total of 20 satellite schools in Manicaland Province, Mashonaland East, and Mashonaland West provinces have been upgraded and registered. The Minister expressed hope that health certificates for the affected schools would soon be issued. Elsewhere in Mashonaland Central Province, the upgrading of Chapoto Secondary School into a low-cost boarding institution is being pursued vigorously. In Urungwe District, Mashonaland West Province, a 40-bed girls' hostel at Vuti Primary School is actually being roofed. In Matabeleland North Province, under the Water Sanitation and Hygiene Program, boreholes have been drilled in water reservoirs mounted at Mpilo and Pelandaba primary schools. That was the reports of the fourth 100-day projects. Then we received an update on the strike by public hospital doctors and nurses. This was given by the Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Obadiah Moyo. Cabinet received this report on the industrial action by public hospital doctors and City of Harare nurses. The Minister of Health and Child Care reported that the doctors' strike is now gone beyond 84 days, with the doctors continuing to cite incapacitation. As such, health service provision at most central hospitals remain constrained. On the situation at Harare City Council clinics, the Minister indicated that 99 out of the expected 179 nurses turned up for duty as of 25th November 2019, which is today. The recent opening of the Edith Opperman Clinic in Bari has since eased the challenge of home-based deliveries. Pertaining to disciplinary hearings for striking doctors, the Minister informed Cabinet that 508 disciplinary cases on doctors that have not been coming to work have so far been heard, out of which 498 doctors were found guilty. It will be recalled that from the previous report, 435 doctors have been discharged, and since then an additional 13 doctors have been found guilty and discharged, making a cumulative total of 448 discharged doctors. In addition to the 508 disciplinary cases heard by the 25th November 2019, an additional 43 doctors from the provinces are awaiting hearing. Serving of charge letters for 57 senior doctors at central hospitals commenced on the 25th November 2019. Regarding the recruitment of doctors, the Ministry of Health and Child Care will publish before the end of this week an advert in the press for all posts that have become vacant as a result of the disciplinary process. Once again, Cabinet wishes to assure the nation that all avenues to ensure that the situation in the health sector returns to normalcy are being explored for immediate implementation. Then we got an update on damage caused by hailstorm, strong winds and heavy rains in the country. While the nation is still seized with memories of Cyclone Idai, which struck earlier in the year, the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, Honorable July Moyo, as Chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Disaster Preparedness and Management, informed Cabinet that the start of the rainfall season in October 2019 has been punctuated by hailstorm, violent winds, and lightning strikes. To date, a total of 8 provinces and 28 districts have reported considerable damage associated with the commencement of the rainfall season. Of note is the extensive damage to properties in urban areas and government-owned public buildings. To date, approximately 543 homestays have suffered various levels of damage, scores of internally displaced persons are living with neighbors or relatives, while hundreds of schools had part of their roofs blown off. Shops and buildings belonging to private companies were also affected. And sadly, a total of 19 lives have been lost due to falling trees, debris from buildings, or lighting strikes. The minister analyzed the situation province by province as follows. In Masvingo, the areas affected are Bikita, Masvingo Rural and Chiwi, and approximately 32 homesteads were affected, including 4 schools. Matebeleland South, Tsukuru and Yohane primary schools in Ulilima district and Sengezane's primary school in Gwanda district were affected. In Mashonaland Central, Mount Darwin district is reported on damage to an unconfirmed number of homesteads and 3 primary schools, namely Mbire, while in the schools are a number of lists, I will leave that. While Mbire district is yet to submit a written report on damaged homesteads. In Shamba district, also under the Chipoli D resettlement area, some homesteads were completely destroyed. In Matebeleland North, a tragic event occurred in Lupane district at Komba Primary School when debris induced by hailstorm killed a 7-year-old learner and left 1 teacher injured. Sengeni Secondary School was also damaged. A lightning bolt killed 4 children. In Mashonaland East, hundreds of homesteads were damaged, leaving many households without shelter and requiring emergency assistance. In Uzumba Maramba Fungwe, a total of 5 schools were damaged. In Koromonzi, 3 learners lost their lives and another was injured following a lightning strike at Rusike Primary School. In Chikomba, strong winds and a hailstorm caused extensive damage to the prison camp where 10 families were left homeless. The other damaged buildings include offices of the Zimbabwe Republic Police and the Meteorological Department offices, Chivu Hospital, ZETDC offices, and Liebenberg High School. In Weza District, Goneso Clinic, Tongogara, and Ruzane Secondary Schools, as well as Makanda, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Ruzane Primary Schools were also affected. In Mtoko District, 10 schools were affected, among them Chidenga, Po, and Manema Secondary Schools. Coming to Manicaland Province, homes and homesteads running into hundreds were destroyed in urban and rural areas. In Tare Rural District, 1 life was lost and 7 people were critically injured. However, they have since been discharged from hospital. 3 clinics and a total of 8 primary schools were affected. In Mtare Urban, and some primary schools in Mtare Teachers College suffered significant damage to infrastructure, while the Golden Peacock Hotel had part of its roof damaged by heavy storms. A total of 2 lives were lost and 1 person was injured. That's in Mtare Urban. In Makoni District, a number of schools were affected, while in Rusape Urban area, Vengere, and some schools were affected. In Chimanimani District, Kwirire and Nyambeya primary schools were affected. 3 homesteads were damaged and 21 houses had their roofs blown off. 1 life was lost and 12 people were injured. And in Mtasa District, reported 1 loss of life. While in Puhera, Musokomba High, and other schools there were affected. A total of 91 homesteads were affected. 1 life was lost and 20 people were displaced from their homes. In the Chipinge District, Chibwe Secondary School suffered considerable damage. Coming to Midlands. In the Shawane District, a total of 132 households had their houses extensively destroyed by strong winds. 9 people were injured and 1 woman was hospitalized. Institutions affected were a number of primary schools, including Dadaya High School. Harare Metropolitan. In Mbari, 2 people lost their lives when a combi, which was parked under a tree, that tree actually fell onto their vehicle. And a 2-story flat at Livingstone Avenue had part of its roof blown off, thereby leaving 4 families without shelter. Interventions. Cabinet was informed that the affected districts are being given petty cash to conduct rapid damage assessments. The immediate needs of the affected populations are food, shelter, and psychosocial support. Efforts are underway to procure tents for the displaced households. The International Organization on Migration, IOM, has made an undertaking to donate some tents. In view of the extent of the disaster, Cabinet has directed that funds that Treasury has already disbursed towards the devolution program be immediately channeled towards assistance for the affected households. The communities need help, and also those institutions which have been affected. The assistance will be handled by the respective urban and rural councils, which have also been directed to act with speed and submit all requests for further assistance. Meanwhile, Cabinet has also directed the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, and other relevant organizations to conduct a scientific study to establish the exact mapping of the impact of the rainfall-induced disasters. This will facilitate timely interventions to avert loss of lives and destruction of property. And then Cabinet received a noted report on the second session of the political dialogue between Zimbabwe and European Union, EU. Cabinet received and noted with satisfaction the report on the dialogue which the Minister of Local Government and Public Works presented as the Acting Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade. The dialogue took place on 21st November 2019 in Harare and was co-chaired by Minister July Moyo and Ambassador Timo Okonen, the EU head of delegation to Zimbabwe. Minister July informed Cabinet that the dialogue focused on key issues under the Zimbabwe-EU partnership, namely progress on political, economic, legislative and electoral reforms, implementation of the Transitional Stabilization Program, TSP, and the staff monitoring programs, among many other issues. Deliberations also focused on the impact of climate change, including drought and natural disasters, update on humanitarian assistance, post-Cotonou cooperation between the African Caribbean and Pacific ACP states and the EU, the SADC-EU dialogue, and Zimbabwe's chairmanship of the SADC organ on politics, defense, and security cooperation. Another topic was Cyclone Idai, the drought, and isolation from the international community. Those were cited as the challenges that hamper government's efforts to implement its reforms. A lot of common ground was achieved on issues encompassing alleged human rights abuses. And there's need for direct support to government as part of cooperation, and also the quantum of humanitarian assistance and the need to increase productivity in the agricultural sector. The next meeting of that dialogue between Zimbabwe and the EU is scheduled for May and June 2020, when it is hoped that more fruitful deliberations will be held, including on trade and investment. And finally, but not least, Cabinet received a clarification on the review of import procedures for foodstuffs. Following presentation by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water and Rural Settlement on the food security situation, and in view of undue pronouncements through the media, Cabinet reiterated its position on the relaxation of importation procedures for grain and foodstuffs. The nation is therefore informed that all companies and individuals with free funds are free to import not just maize meal and flour, but the entire range of foodstuffs without import permits. As such, therefore, no person shall be asked regarding the source of the funds so used, except when there are reasonable grounds to suspect that a crime has been committed. The intention is to ensure that, by all means possible, citizens' right to access food is protected, until such a time that another review shall be deemed necessary. Then we look at that again. I want to thank you for this. Thank you sincerely.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your ability to present such a detailed cabinet matrix on the decisions of cabinet. Now it's time for questions or comments from members of the media. Who wants to start the ball? Yes, please.
Is that a laugh or a smile?
No, he's indicated with a smile.
Okay.
Yes, I thank you, Chief Secretary. My question is more to do on the health sector.
You forgot to say your name.
Okay, I thought I'm now. Blessed Lutlana, I'm with Newsday and Heart and Soul TV and radio. My question is directed firstly to the Minister of Health. You note that the strike has gone on for 84 days, and the number of doctors have been fired. I just wanted to know how many more doctors remain the employee of government, and because you fired about 400 and something. So I wanted to know if you still have any more doctors that are still part of government. And when you say the strike has gone on for 84 days, which strike, considering that you fired the people who are striking, so why do you keep on referring to the strike going on as if the fired doctors can just come back to work? And I just wanted also to the Minister of Local Government to find out from him what measures have been taken to ensure that people are given pre-warning of these disasters that have taken sadly 19 lives. What issues have been put in place to ensure that people are warned in advance and evacuated if need be?
Okay. Any other person who wants to? Yes. Right at the back there.
Okay. My name is Kolisani Nore. I'm a freelance journalist. My question goes to the Minister of Health. From the report we got from the Minister of Information, she indicates that there are steps that have been taken to avert the issue of the dismissals of doctors. But it seems as if every week a doctor is being fired, somewhere, or the number is increasing. What are these measures which are not yielding results to ensure that the doctors are going? Are these efforts pushing away doctors instead of bringing doctors back to hospitals? Then, as well as to look at, we understand that some doctors are now leaving the country for greener pastures. From the ministry perspective, how many of those have left and look for greener pastures? Do we still have the capacity to fill the gaps that have been opened up by the fire doctors?
Okay. Another volunteer, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Leopold. I'm not using my first request is a clarification. Maybe I'd like the Minister of Information to clarify. I think I had said that Cabinet had advised that some money reserved for devolution be used in a certain sector, specifically on the victims of the recent hailstorms. So I just wanted clarification as to is that really what she said on the council. And also, Cabinet has approved the importation of foodstuffs, which this also. How will this affect our local? How will this affect our local producers? The Minister of Finance has indicated that next year she will pin on production now and employment creation. So how will this affect our own producers? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
My name is Ruth Mawera. I'm a freelance journalist. Still clarification from Minister Obadiah. You said you will be advertising for new posts for doctors. Where are you going to recruit from, knowing that already we have shortages of doctors in the country? And my second question to him again, which is, I think is very critical and important, the strike is gone beyond 88 days. Where should the sick be going at the moment? Because things, hospitals are not operating.
Yes, last one.
Thank you very much, Effort Msekiwa, SABC News. My questions basically are just extensions to some of what have already been asked. The Minister of Local Government at some point early in the year indicated that the country needs to be better prepared for disasters. And I did not hear from the presentations that were made the level of preparedness the country, the level of preparedness by the country for natural disasters, seeing that we are actually in the process where we have begun to experience disasters. And now the channeling of funds that were meant for devolution are being channeled to go and address these disasters that are occurring. Is this an indication that the country is not prepared, or plans were not put in place to prepare for such kind of disasters? That's the first one. Then the second one, to the Minister of Health. Every year, during the onset of the rain season, communicable diseases, we do have serious outbreaks. This year we have no doctors, we have no nurses in Harare. In the event that cholera or typhoid, there's an outbreak of cholera or typhoid, what plans or what preparations have the ministry put in place to attend to such a scenario, seeing that it's an occurring thing that typhoid and cholera will have outbreaks every year when the rains start? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I now revert to
Yes,
Honorable
yes,
Chair.
thank you very much.
Your colleague.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. I think the first question, it was from Blessed Bukana, you state. It is directed to you, Minister of Health. The strike has gone for so many days, and a number of doctors have been discharged. Would you be able to tell us how many more doctors are still employed? Minister?
Yes. Well, at this stage, we're really concentrating on the number of doctors that are being disciplined. Now, we'll be able to give you that figure later. But for now, really is what the chair has indicated. It's 448 posts of all categories available. At this stage, that is what is happening.
He went on to, he wanted to know why do you continue. I'm not sure if that question was very clear. It was, he wanted to know why you continue to refer to this number of days strike. You heard that question, didn't you?
I want to know, since you fired the people who are striking, why don't you continue saying that we have a strike? Because
there are some other doctors who can come back to work.
But you
who are still striking.
So there are some who have been fired and some who are still striking.
That is very correct. As we have indicated, the number has been going up on a weekly basis, which means that the process of disciplinary action, it's not, it hasn't been all in one go, but in phases. Some will be in the provinces, some will be in the central hospitals. So that's why we continue to talk about the number of doctors who are still on strike. There are some who are not yet fired, but they are not coming to work. So the whole exercise has to be finalized. That's why we come up with that type of statement.
All right, we proceed. President, you're happy? Okay, local government minister, what measures have you taken to ensure people are given pre-warning and evacuated?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mshana, for that question. I think all of us in this room really need to participate in the warnings that are given. The primary source of our warnings comes from the Department of Meteorology. And before the rain started, the Department of Meteorology, supported by the Civil Protection Unit, they have been publicizing, and we hope some of you will take it further on a regular basis throughout the day, that the rains that are coming are going to be violent, they are going to be windy, and they are going to have hailstorm. And that's the only warning that we can give. And in a lot of cases, they've been very specific to say the areas that will be covered are such and such areas. And when we are looking at the damage that has happened, you will see that starting from Chipinge, Chimanimani area, there was a trajectory which went as far as Bikita, which are the same areas that were hit by Cyclone Idai. Then another one came into Mtare, as the chairman has said, and it hit Mtare rural, it hit Mtare urban. It went on to Buera and to Chifu. Those were the same areas that were hit last year. And another trajectory came into Rusape and continued into Mrewa and Mtoko. These are areas that we hope that you in the media will continue to publicize. But another phenomena that we have seen was the effect it had in Rushinga area as well as Mount Darwin. And another area which, again, the Department of Meteorology was able to announce much earlier was in the Lupani area. So warnings are being given, but what to do when somebody is in their hut or in their house or in their school, we cannot be specific to tell them where to go and hide. All we can tell Zimbabweans, let's build sustainable buildings, public buildings like schools, clinics, so that when these storms come, we are prepared for it. That will continue to tell everybody.
Thank you, Minister. Was that a follow-up question? Okay, sorry. I move on to concerning Mube. He is asking a question to you, Minister of Health. I'll go question, but there are so many, but I'll go one by one until we get to the end. He wanted to say the ministry should have taken steps to avert dismissal of doctors. That's what you told them, that you are taking those steps. But it seems every week the number of doctors being discharged is growing. Does it mean that those efforts are pushing away doctors? And then he went on to ask that we hear that other doctors are leaving the country. Would you be able to tell how many of those doctors have left the country? And the last question was, do you have capacity to fill the gaps of those doctors who will discharged? Minister.
Yes. Let's start with the issue of doctors going for greener pastures. Definitely, I don't have those statistics. This will be done on an individual basis, if at all. Yes, we've heard about the adverts which have come out, with the British, trying to woo Zimbabwean health personnel. But like we said before, yes, it might be a bit more magnified at this stage, but it has always been happening. The British, the Australians, everybody, the first world, they've always been looking for Zimbabwean healthcare personnel. So the issue of going for greener pastures, that's on a personal basis. I don't think they would come to us and say that they're now leaving to go to the United Kingdom. Measures that we are taking measures in terms of ensuring that we now advertise for those posts which have been left vacant. That is the reality. This week we are concentrating on coming up with the relevant adverts in the press, and then we are not going to necessarily expect, applications, from the ones who have been fired only, but from other doctors in the country. There might be doctors who are working, in the private sector who might feel that there's an opportunity which has arisen. They are all welcome, but as we've always said, we are here to make sure that we get the service, in order. We want to achieve a proper service once again, and you must realize also that the doctors who were being dismissed, these are doctors who were not at work. These are doctors who were staying away from their workplaces, and therefore they were just as good as not being there. They were, but the most really the doctors who were staying within the institutional accommodation, those are the ones who are a bit worrying. When we talk of incapacitation, and that you are still living within the accommodation of the hospital, you are within walking distance to your patient. So that was a bit worrying. So the institutions are being encouraged to make sure that whoever is still in the institutions, as doctors, as the nurses, they will provide the emergency services. And we've always said we are very grateful to those doctors who have continued to provide emergency services. There are some doctors, I went to Harare Hospital the other day, they've been coming to work on a daily basis without failure to give assistance. Mupilo Hospital, Bulawayo, United Bulawayo, they've been giving assistance. Emergency services are being provided. So those are the measures we have put in place to ensure that there will be a service provided, at our institutions. Naturally, we are in Zimbabwe. Any health institution in Zimbabwe, if they provide a service, that's one of the measures which is there to save a life. So we are also grateful to even the private institutions who are providing a service, to the mission hospitals who are providing a service, to those in the provinces who are still providing a service. So the service measures which are being taken include the support to the city health clinics, to make sure that we look after our patients. Of particular interest, is the situation in Bari, where we've opened the Opperman Clinic, and is providing a service, maternity services. So that's the type of services that we are having to provide. Yes, we have said the services are constrained. Naturally, they would be constrained, if 400 plus doctors are not coming to work. There would be a constraint. So we are making sure that we leave our slate clean, and we advertise for the posts that have been made available, and we're going to do that vigorously. And any doctors who are qualified and registered with the Health Professions Council, are free to apply. So we're not closing the door for those who are registered, with our council. Those who probably were not working for us, and they will now want to come and work for us. Anyone who is got the suitable qualifications is welcome to apply, to come and work as a doctor in our system. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Moyo. And I go now to Leopold. Leopold was actually wondering whether the report on the money. I read on the update on damage caused by hailstorms, strong winds and heavy rains in the country. And on the interventions, yes, in view of the extent of the disaster, Cabinet directed that the funds that Treasury had already dispersed towards the devolution program be immediately channeled to make sure that we help those communities. But yes, Minister July, this may come to you. Thank you.
Let me explain, Chair. In the Constitution, there are three aspects which we look at when we are giving monies as central government. One is to support capital development of local authorities and involved institutions. The second one is to the money so that we can eliminate inequalities, and these inequalities in our system, in government, are named in the Constitution. One is educational facilities, school facilities, and the second one is clinics and facilities for health facilities. The third one, without any order, is water and sanitation, electricity, roads, and others. So it is in line with this that we think this calamity would disadvantage the children of this country, and therefore to give it a priority is a necessity, is a constitutional requirement, and the local authorities who have these monies should not have difficulty in diverting those monies and put it for the repair of classrooms or repair of institutions that are for health. And we did this having examined what has happened in a number of districts. The only funds that were available to them were to use these devolution funds, and they wanted Cabinet to concur with this. When we went to Bikita, we found the same thing, and all the councils were asking, can government go along with this? So Cabinet is acceding to the requirements of the Constitution, but also to the requests of the people. And so these funds is not a question of being prepared. That's why we have disaster management. When a disaster is struck, we have to manage how to respond to that disaster. And this is the quickest way we can respond. And that's why local authorities are the best placed. After all, these schools, these clinics are built, run by the local authorities, with government supporting them in terms of teachers and others. But the schools actually belong to the local authorities. Yes, there are school development committees, but these are part and parcel of the management of schools by rural district councils or urban councils.
Thank you, Minister July. Leopold, you asked whether importation of foodstuffs, so how will this affect our own producers? But let me be very clear that this is actually, after listening to the food security situation in the country, the relaxation of importation procedures for grain and foodstuffs is very temporary. The intention, as I said clearly, is to ensure that by all means citizens access food, and that is the purpose of this relaxation. This will be done for such a time that we have enough food in the country, that then will be reviewed. We move on to Rutendo, freelance. Again, coming back to you, Minister of Health. When we talked about advertising for jobs, I think you did talk to that, but anyway, I wanted to know whether we have, don't we have a shortage in the country of doctors? And now that we have got shortages of doctors, and there are no doctors at hospitals, where do you want our people do you want the sick to go to? That was your question.
Yeah, that I had already answered. Yeah, but the issue of the cholera in the event of...
Oh, okay, you touched all that. All right.
The event of cholera or typhoid.
That was
still...
Yeah, now that the rains are upon us and that there will be an outbreak of communicable diseases, how are you going to deal with that outbreak?
Yes, right, I'll do that. So with regards to disease outbreaks, there's always a plan we always plan for these outbreaks like cholera and typhoid. And there will always be members of staff of all categories who will be ready, and mostly within the clinics of the cities. And at this stage, we have that in place. And then the provincial teams, you find the environmental health officers, they are the ones who will be in the front, and working with the nursing staff. We have a full complement of nurses who are available to be able to counter any of these problems. Yes, we would need the doctors also, but we are looking at utilizing the ones that we have within our city councils. They are the ones who will be in the forefront. We need the pharmacists, to be making sure that the drugs are available. We would need to contact our partners, who would also come forward, with assistance. So when it comes to the disasters, the full complement is always the team that works around that particular condition. So we are ready if that was to happen. We should be in a position to be able to manage, through the staff that is available. It's not everyone, it's not every doctor who has been fired, and it's not all doctors who are out. There are some doctors who are still in the institutions, and those are the ones who will definitely be utilizing for that purpose. But once again, I want to say, once the advert is out, all those who are qualified, they should be able to apply, for those posts, to be able to fill those posts. For the doctors that went away, they went away after an offer had been made. There was a 30% offer. It was then improved to 60%, then improved to 100%. And that was the best government could do under the current economic conditions. And the issue of thinking about our patients is of vital importance. So we now want to work in a realistic manner, know who is with us or who is not with us. So this is why we are now coming up with the adverts, so that we can be able to finalize the correct position. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Last but not least, of course, Secure, SABC. To you, Minister of Local Government, what actually is the level of preparedness since we are experiencing so many diseases?
Yes, Chair, I think largely I have responded. All I can add is that fortunately for us in Zimbabwe, our penetration in the remotest areas is very good. We have a system of village heads that we use in order to pass messages because they are the people who know which household has been affected, and that we are also using the system of our headmanship, our chieftainships. The councillors are all being alerted so that they can inform people. But we cannot over-prepare. When a disaster comes, when it has happened, the response is what we prepared for also. That's why we have systems of civil protection units at the village level, at the ward level, at the district level, and the local authorities up to national. That is the only way we can assure our people that when disaster strikes, we are there for them. And the menu that the chairman has read tells you that we are covering the whole country in terms of response, but that response must also be